Hello, welcome to Cheyenne's Impossible Reading Challenge, the introduction episode. I'm sure many of you have heard of the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. This is a challenge that is running for its third year, starting in July of 2026, and it was created by Q at QWERTY, and they basically tried to create a reading challenge that you had to complete within a year that was really hard. So you have to often do really specific things or find very specific books to complete the challenges. I attempted this challenge in 2025 to 2026, July to July. And it's not over. There's still a few weeks left. I'm filming this in early June, but I'm not gonna be able to make it work. And I love the idea of this challenge so much that I decided to create my very own challenge called Cheyenne's Impossible Reading Challenge. I'm changing a few things because I didn't just want to copy Q's work completely. So the idea of this is I made myself a fun challenge that hit some goals of mine that I'm working on, that work with some of my video series that I have on this channel, that put me out of my comfort zone in a way that is not making me go out and find random books to read, but can stay within my TBR of, according to Storygraph, 730 some books. So I definitely still have lots of books to choose from. I don't necessarily need to be going and finding new books, but this challenge is going to stretch my reading in interesting ways, I think. So without any further ado, let me show you the board, and we're going to talk about all these different challenges and what they mean. I try to give them fun names, and some of them are more obvious than others. So we're going to go row by row, and we're going to talk about the 49 challenges that I will be trying to complete, not in any specific time frame, but just whenever I want to. On row 1, the first challenge is the Superfan Challenge. So the idea of this is for me to pick 2 authors whose backlist I want to complete and read everything that they have published. I have not yet chosen what authors these will be. I do plan to do a lot of videos based on these challenges, and so I might pick in those videos, I might pick beforehand. One author that I'm considering is Jeff Vandermeer, because his books are a little hit or miss, but I do kind of want to just have tried everything he's ever written, because a lot of his books also do really work for me. The next challenge is Tropes Time. So this is to read books with 12 different tropes that I love. I have chosen the tropes. They are Chosen One, Archaeological Exploration, Magical Sword, Marriage of Convenience, Magic School Setting. The narrator is telling us their story. An author is the main character. An isolated crime. Vibrant fantasy world of any kind. Near future science technology. A fantasy job. And cryptids. So all I need to do for this square is to read a book for each of these tropes and have fun enjoying some of my favorite things to read about. The third challenge on this row is the Subgenre Central. This is sort of like the Tropes Time, except for this time I'm going to be reading from each of my favorite subgenres. And I chose 6 of them that I wanted to have. So the first one is a dystopian. The second one is a literary mystery, epic fantasy, fairy tale retelling, a sci-fi thriller, and a folk horror. Reap what you sow. This is a diabolical challenge, I think. Maybe. We'll see. This is to read every book that I haul starting from the time that this challenge starts until I finish a challenge. I have to always be keeping up with every single book I haul. This includes sequels that I might get. If I haven't read the first book and I buy the second and third book, I need to read all of them or unhaul the series before this whole impossible reading challenge can be complete. Every single book that I buy from the time that this challenge starts, goes live on my channel, I have to be reading the books that I bring into my home. This is another quite diabolical one. This is The Hauntings of TBR's Past. So every TBR that has gone live on my channel from the time that you're seeing this video, I need to go back, look at every book that was on every single TBR, and read it. If I don't want to read it, it has to come off of either my physical shelves and I unhaul it, or I delete it off of my Storygraph TBR, basically saying I'm not interested in reading this at any point. So this is quite the challenge because I've done quite a few TBRs and I very rarely stick to them all. So we'll see how this one goes. Shelf sweep is where I need to, so I have 8 shelves currently that I can use for this one, and I will need to roll an 8-sided die and figure out which shelf I have to read every single book off of for this challenge. So we're talking about these 3 here, these 3 behind me, and then the bottom 2 over here because the top one is library books. So I'm counting my owned books for this one. So should we figure out which one we have to do right now? Oh my gosh. Okay, let's do that. I have to do it on the computer screen, the laptop screen, so I'm so sorry if this is super reflective. I'm gonna do my best to not point it at the ring light. Okay, which one? I really hope it's not, I should say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I really don't want it to be 8 because those are the books that I'm least excited about, but we'll see. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 6. So that will be this one behind me. In another video, you will see me go through those books and read them. The last challenge on this shelf is another diabolical one. I don't know why it must have been the first ideas I had were the most diabolical. This one is called Too Much Taste Testing. I have to read every first chapter of every book on my shelves, excluding sequels. So I have to try a chapter from every single book that I own physically on my shelves that is not a sequel. Decide if I want to keep the book, get rid of it if I'm not jiving with it, or save it to read later if I'm unsure. Yeah, that's I think 300 first chapters. Row 2, lucky letter draw. I need 2. I am going to spin a letter wheel, whatever letter it ends on. I have to read every single book on my shelves that start with that letter. This includes, if I get T, I have to read every book that starts with the on my shelves. Q, V, X, and Z all go together. I think that's what I decided. Let me check my notes. Yes, Q, X, V, and Z all go together. If I spin any one of those, I have to read the chunk because I'm assuming it's not that many. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Be kind to me. D. Interesting. I have at least one on my shelves. I have Deerskin by Robin McKinley over there. So we will for sure be reading at least one, but I'm sure there's many more. Okay, next one is a series of epic proportions. This is to read the longest series by page length on my shelf. So I have to add together the page length of all the books in the series and then read that one. This includes everything that's on my Storygraph TBR as well as the ones I own physically. And it includes multiple series if they're set in the same world. So for example, The Realm of the Elderlings, I will add together all of this series and the books in that series are page linked together, figure out how many pages that is, and read the one that's longest. I will say I think I know. I think it's going to be The Wheel of Time, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that because The Dragon Bone Chair and all its sequels and its like spin-off series are also all very long. So we'll have to see, but I'm thinking it's going to be Wheel of Time. The time travel challenge is just to read a book from 50 different years. It doesn't matter if they're consecutive or not. This is just me basically trying to get through both backlist and new releases all at the same time, reading through classics that have been hanging around for a long time. So just 50 different years. The series Squared Challenge is not actually squaring series, but you'll kind of see what I mean. So for this one, I have to read 2 duologies. So 2 times 2 is 4. I have to read 3 trilogies. So technically 3 cubed. And then I have to read 4 quartets. I think I'm going to allow myself to read books that are longer than quartets if I can't find enough quartets to like fill out 4 of them, because I feel like a trilogy is very normal. A duology is very normal. When we get into quartets, sometimes it's like they have 5 books instead of 4 or 6 books instead of 4. And so it's just not as common to have like a solid quartet. So I'm going to give myself a little grace there to allow myself to read a longer series. Thanks, me. In order to fulfill that challenge. Armchair travel is to read from 5 different countries that I haven't read from yet. I have like this little checklist of every country in the world, and I've been checking off whenever I read a book from that country, because like a lifetime goal of mine is to maybe have tried to read a book from an author from that country, or at least someone whose like parents are from that country, so they're very closely tied to the land and the culture. Not like a white author in America writing about someplace in Africa that they've never been or something like that. I want them to be tied to that country. And so I've been keeping track. So this challenge is to read from 5 countries that I haven't checked off yet on that list. Puzzling. I love to do puzzles, and I love to listen to audiobooks and do puzzles, and I want to complete 5 different puzzles while listening to audiobooks, because I have a backlog of puzzles that I haven't been prioritizing. And so choosing some great like mystery thriller audiobooks and doing puzzles, or Discworld books, because I've been really into Discworld lately. Like listening to audiobooks and doing puzzles is a great combo that I would like to prioritize. Rex from the Tube. This is one that will definitely feed into my channel. This is to make reading vlogs 5 different times, reading only other booktuber Rex books. So on Storygraph, I have tags. When I add a book specifically off of another booktuber's recommendation, I tag it under their name. So I have like a big tag list of all the different booktubers that I have collected these recs from, not personal recs, but just ones that they've read and liked. And so I want to do reading vlogs, kind of getting to those recs sooner rather than later. All right, we're on row 3. We're moving and grooving. The decade read down. I need to go find a list of every decade that is represented on my TBR, and on my Storygraph TBR specifically, and read a book from every single decade represented. So from the 1850s and the 1860s and the 1870s. If I don't have a book already on my Storygraph TBR from that year, I'm just going to skip over that decade. If I don't have anything within that decade, that's fine. I don't necessarily need to go hunt it down. I just, again, want to be reading through older books, newer books, getting through books that have been hanging on my shelves for a long time. So that's what the decade read down will be. The manga marathon. This is one where I want to read an entire manga series within a month. The manga series has to be 10 or more volumes, and that's about it. I just have to complete it within a month. Definitely very doable. I just enjoy kind of sinking into a series and reading it quite quickly all at once. Battle of the Bind-Ups. I need to find every bind-up of books on my shelves and read all of them, because I tend to not pick them up because I'm like, it's one book, but it's 2 books, and that's a lot of commitment. One example is this one. It is The Legend of Eli Monpreth. It's 3 books in one. I have sampled this. I've tried the first chapter. I really enjoyed it. So I would like to actually sit down and read the entire bind-up. NetGalley numbers. I want to read and review 10 books from NetGalley. This can be books that I have already requested from NetGalley or ones that I request in the future. I just want to read and review 10 of them. I like supporting authors' work by putting out reviews, whether it's like on my YouTube channel or in written form on Storygraph or Amazon or Goodreads. I just want to make it a priority to actually review them if I'm requesting them. So I know I have 3 currently sitting on my Kindle that I need to prioritize getting to. So that's what this challenge is all about. Translation Station is just to read 10 translated novels. I think it's so easy to find books in English that I forget to prioritize translated books when I can. And so I would like to prioritize them and get to 10 translated books that I'm interested in. Short Story Extravaganza. This is another diabolical one. I want to challenge myself to read 500 short stories. I have probably 15 short story collections on my shelves and quite a few on my Storygraph TBR. And I tend to get to them very, very slowly. So they kind of start multiplying. Like every time I read one, I've probably added a couple more to my TBR that sound interesting. So I would like to make an effort to get to the ones that are on my shelves. I also have a couple years worth of Uncanny Magazine volumes sitting on my Kindle that I want to get to at some point. So lots of options for this one. 500 short stories. We'll see how that goes. The 5-star scavenger hunt. This is just to find a 5-star book in different genres, just to, I don't know, have some fun reading some books that really excite me and that I think might be 5 stars. So the genres are science fiction, fantasy, romance, historical fiction, literary fiction, mystery, thriller, and horror. And I want to find a 5-star book in each of those. Row 4, we're almost at the halfway point. Okay, so the first one on this row is What's in My Jar. Years ago, before I even had a channel, I was obsessed with the TBR jar kind of idea where you did prompts, and I made a jar full of prompts and I still have them. I went through some of them and then I kind of would stop, and then a year later I'd pick another one, and I would like to go through and complete every single prompt that's in here that I haven't looked at in years, so I don't know what's in there. The Crayola 66 pack. This one is fun. I'm going to show you my screen. So I have taken off of Wikipedia. They have all of the colors in the 66 pack, which is the most recent colors of crayons. And I would like to read a book with that color on the cover for each of those colors, or at least as best as I can, because some of them are quite similar. Quarter of the Kindle. This is to read exactly 25% of the books that are currently on my Kindle. This includes NetGalley books. It does not include library books. I actually went and did a big clear out of a bunch of books. So everything that's on there is something that I am very curious to try. Nothing on there is I'm not sure about it, because when I was clearing it out, I was if I'm not sure about it, I'm getting rid of it. So I will figure out later how many books I actually need to complete off that. But yeah, we will be 25% lighter on the Kindle after this challenge. Make Room is going to be a very fun challenge. This is to set aside a month and to read books by non-white authors only for that entire month. So it's not just read a lot of non-white authors, it's non-white authors for the entire month. I might try to see how many different ethnicities I could read through in that time, or maybe I'll stick with reading a lot of Isabel Allende or Amy Tan or Octavia Butler or something like that. I don't know exactly how I want that to work, but that's the idea. It's a sprint-a-thon, not a sprint. This is where I'm challenging myself to do 130-minute sprints Not in a row, definitely not in a row, but just whenever I sit down and do an intentional 30-minute sprint of reading, I get to check one off the list, and I want to do 100 of them just to prioritize that like quieting of my brain and focusing on reading. What are you waiting for challenge? This is to read 5 already completed series because I'm interested in them. They're already completed. What am I waiting for? And then FOMO. This is to read 20 different books that I feel like I'm the last person on earth to read and that I haven't gotten to, but I've heard good things about, and I want to get to them and not fear missing out anymore. Row 5, starting with the first one. This is to read the longest classic on my shelves. I know what it is because I can see it on my Storygraph TBR. It is this book, which is so cool. I have the coolest copy of it. It is Kristen Lavransdatter. It is written by Sigrid Undset. It's 3 books in one, but it's kind of, I don't know if they were ever published separately, but the story, I've often seen it together, and it's about like a woman in medieval times. This is like probably at least 1,000 pages. I love this copy. I think it's so cool. It's like a little beat up, so I don't think it's actually worth anything, but it's like such a cool special little copy to have. So, and I got it for like $8. That felt special to me. Though Powell's had originally got it for $1. So they upsold me on it. I forget where I heard about this, but I have heard good things about it. 6 months to reduce. If you have seen my recent video where I reduced my Storygraph TBR by 100 in 100 days, then you will be familiar with this. The idea of this is just to get the number of books that I'm interested down to a more manageable number, because that Storygraph TBR is like at 730 books. When I started, it was at 850, so we've definitely improved, but there's still so many books, and it's not feasible to just have that number keep going up. At some point, I would like for it to be much lower so I can have a better idea of how to prioritize what I want to read. So in this one, I'm going to give myself 6 months, not 100 days, to reduce that number down. Nonstop flight. This is to read a series without taking a break in between the books. So you just bounce from book 1 all the way to the end. No books in between to like give myself a break. Just completely binge a series. Cozy little readers. I want to plan 3 different cozy reading nights. If you haven't heard of that before, the name Cozy Reading Night, I can't think of a better name for it yet. I would like to, but I'm kind of stealing the name from Lauren at Lauren in the Books. She has done these cozy reading nights for years where she and usually her husband just plan an evening of snacks, yummy drinks, and they read for like 3 hours straight and maybe have like a special bath, or sometimes she would rotate, like I'm going to read an hour of one book and then switch and read an hour of another. And they'll do themes sometimes and things like that. Sometimes they'd invite friends or family over. And so my idea is to actually host a cozy reading night on like sprints online and invite you all to join if you can. They might actually need to be cozy reading afternoons for people who are in like a different time zone, because I'm Pacific time zone. So usually like if I'm doing it at night, everyone else is asleep except for like people on the opposite side of the world waking up. So we'll figure out how to do that, but I want to plan 3 of them. And I kind of have this idea to tie them in with my readathon that I'm wanting to start, which we're kind of bumping to next year, I think, but I would like to do some stuff in the run up to that to kind of get hyped for it. Time for you to go is to read the 30 books that have been on my Storygraph TBR the longest. So just go to my Storygraph TBR, get those 30, and either remove them, unhaul them or read them, because sometimes it's just time. One of them is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell that I've almost picked up about 100 times and haven't yet. Meet and greet. This is to try a book from every author on my Storygraph TBR that I have multiple books saved on there, but I haven't tried any of their books. So I did this with my physical TBR last year as one of my goals. If I had an author who I had multiple books by, like Rebecca Roanhorse, but if I'd never tried their work, I had to read or at least try a chapter of one of their books just to see, get a taste test, meet and greet the author, so to speak. So I want to do this with every author on my Storygraph TBR instead of just the physical books. Taming the Shelves mega episode. Taming the Shelves is a video series where I pull random books off of my shelves. Usually I do 3 to 5 books per episode, but this one I would like to do 10 and just have it be like a mega episode because I haven't done one in a while. Row 6, we're getting there. Race Against the Clock. This is a very simple challenge. This is to finish a book within 48 hours 5 times. So as soon as I pick up a book and start it, I need to finish that book within 48 hours. This is just to get me to focus on getting through a story quickly and not dragging it out forever when it doesn't need to be drug out that long. The mini buzzword challenge. This is to take Books and Lala's buzzword challenge and complete the cover challenge in as few books as possible. So the cover challenge is new, and what you have to do is you have to find something on a book that is represented by whatever word she chose. So it might be like a bone, and then one month it might be an eyeball, another month it might be a pattern. And what I would try to do is I would try to complete that in as few books as I could possibly find as possible. So I tried to find a book that like had 5 or 6 of those things on it and read one book to cover like 6 of them. Hit the Road is a little challenge that I am planning where I basically take myself on these like solo either reading or writing dates or both. So I take myself to a new location that I haven't been before. Maybe I go out and get lunch by myself. Maybe I take myself to a new coffee shop or a new library branch, or for a park hangout session. And I go somewhere I haven't been before or try something a little different, and I just either read or write during that time. And I think this will be really fun. Just to get out, do something a little different. It's also going to be fun because I might be moving at some point, either sooner rather than later, or in like 3 years, maybe. Who knows? Things are a little up in the air right now. But if I moved sooner rather than later, it'd be really fun to do that challenge like in a new town when you're trying to like get settled. Next challenge is the crochet book. This is to read or listen to an audiobook while crocheting or knitting, because I think I'm going to reteach myself how to knit as well. So pretty simple, just enjoying 2 different hobbies smashed together. So the next challenge is called Mood Reading Literally. So the idea of this one is on Storygraph, there are all these different moods that are tagged onto books to kind of give you an idea of what the book might be like. And I want to read a book from every mood on my Storygraph. So the moods are adventurous, mysterious, dark, emotional, tense, reflective, challenging, funny, lighthearted, hopeful, sad, informative, inspiring, and relaxing. The next square is My Perfect TBR. The idea of this is kind of created off of this idea of what I kind of like to read the most, and then sprinkling in some other things that I read less of but still really enjoy. So I would basically take a couple weeks or a month and like make myself a TBR that kind of reflects that. So for example, I might put 5 fantasy books on that TBR and then have a mystery thriller, a romance, and a couple horror books, and just try to build like a TBR that I think is going to be really great. Landline for the night. This is a tough challenge that I really need to do. So the idea of this one is I take my phone and I put on it a mode. I put it into a mode at 8 p.m. at night that basically turns it into a landline where I can only access like either reading or music on it, as well as phone calls, but I can't access YouTube or any kind of like internet thing, and do that for a month without messing up once. Unless I like absolutely had to go look something up for some reason, but without basically scrolling at night or getting sucked into YouTube when I normally want to read in the couple hours before bed. This will be a tough one. Okay, we're on the final row. Let's finish this. The square that says, don't be afraid of sticky notes. This is just, I want to annotate a book. I have sticky notes to annotate a book, and I never actually take the time to do it. I don't know if I will like it because I've never done it. So I'm not going to write in the book, I don't think, but I am going to try to like tab up or write sticky notes with the notes in it for a book. Connect 7 is to read a chain of books where one book in the title leads you to another book. So for example, I could read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then I could read Bryony and Roses as the next book because they both share roses in the title. And I need to do like 7 that like chain to each other. The chain doesn't ever get to start over. The Our Fantasy Bingo Square is just to complete the Our Fantasy Bingo for 2026. I'm currently working on it, and I'll give you an update maybe in a video where I start picking up some of the challenges that are a little harder to complete than others. Friends shop my shelves. So I'm going to be utilizing some friends of mine who are booktubers. If they will be so kind, I would like to send them a picture of all the books on my shelves and have them pick a book or two for me to read, just to get someone else to look and go, oh my gosh, you have a gem on your shelf, you need to read that. 1K week. So this one is I need to read 1,000 pages within a week. I did this challenge on my channel a little while ago and it took me 14 days to complete, like 2 weeks. I can do it much faster than that, so I would like to challenge myself to read 1,000 pages in a week. Be judgy. This one is one of the only ones that will encourage me to read things that aren't just on my physical TBR or my Storygraph TBR. This is to watch some of the award shows for different books and read the short list as soon as it's announced. So it could be the Women's Prize for Fiction, it could be the Hugo Awards or the Nebula Awards or the Booker Prize or whatever award I decide to read from when the shortlist is announced. I want to kind of be reading those books when the shortlist is announced and kind of being in the know with that award. The Ultimate Series Squash is the final one on this challenge, and that's to get the number of series that I'm currently in the middle of down to 5. I'm actually at 7 because I've been doing really good the past couple months at reading series. So this could go down much faster than I think, unless I end up starting a bunch of series before I can finish wrapping up some of these other ones. So that is Cheyenne's Impossible Reading Challenge. As I said before, this does not have any sort of set time frame. I'm just going to be completing these as I have room in my life. Sometimes in my life are going to be busier than others and I won't be able to do as much, but I just wanted to do my own version of HRCYED because I love HRCYED, but it doesn't really work with my reading goals, and it's very hard for me to do without sort of throwing out all the books that I own and saying I need to go read a bunch of these other things when this is truly my priority. So I want to know which challenge you think is the worst one of this challenge. Which one is the most diabolical to you? I would love to hear that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to seeing me talk about this challenge more in upcoming videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!